Now a diagram can be a little difficult to understand, so let's now go through a hand example. It'll just be a heads up pot. The flop will come out king, king 2. Let's say we have 6, 7 of spades. So this is one of those boards where it's dry and scary at the same time. If we get resistance from our opponent here, we either think he's on a complete bluff or he has a really strong hand, like a set or even 4 of a kind, 4 kings. So we elect to get a little tricky, try to steal the pot. We lead out with our 6, 7, nothing, but thinking our opponent will fold a big percentage of the time. He actually just calls. The turn is another scary but dry card. It pairs the board. There's 2 pairs on the board. Now all of a sudden we're thinking, yeah, ace high is a really strong hand here. The river comes a 6. Now the turn went check, check, so our opponent played passively. We're actually ruling out the idea that he has a really strong hand, a nutty hand. Nut hands would include things like any king, so king X, obviously any 2 as well by the turn. By the river, 6, 6. How about medium strength hands? What do they look like on this board? I think pocket pairs like queens all the way down to 3s. By the river, I think we actually can include 6x, which is the hand we have, as a mid-strength hand. And then right on the border between medium and bluff catchers, on a board like this, a double paired board, I think we have ace X. So let's actually sketch ace X in for what we think our opponent has, because he did play the hand quite passively. He called our bet on the flop and then checked back on the turn. So what do we do on this river? Let's range merge. We know we don't have the nuts. We don't have a full house or quads. We have a medium strength hand. Most decent players will not bet a pair of 6s here. I mean, it's good for 2 pair, kings and 6s. It certainly beats an opponent with ace high, but you won't bet it because you're scared of not seeing showdown. If you get raised, you're going to have to fold. So you'd only bet if you had one of the nut hands or a complete bluff. But think about what this does if our opponent is willing to bluff catch. He's willing to call with ace X. So if we check, he'll call, or if we check, he'll check back. We're giving up tremendous value. He's not going to bet when we check. And in fact, because ace X, it's a strong hand in showdown, he doesn't want to expose himself to the risk of facing a raise and have to fold. He'll check back in position. So when we check, we're giving up tremendous value. An extra bet, it could even be nearly the size of the pot that he would call with ace high. So we merge our range. We bet on the river with mid-strength hands. In this case, a pair of 6s and a pair of kings. We're merging our river betting behavior of the nut range with our mid-strength hand range. In summary, our range merging worked because 3 things were present. First, our opponent thought we had a polarized river betting range. Secondly, our opponent was capable of bluff catching. He's a pretty good player. We'll call him a bluff catcher. And finally, we had what we would call a medium strength hand. Of course, range merging would be impossible here if we had a nut hand or a bluff catching strength hand ourselves, like ace high, king high, or queen high. In those situations, a bet, I think, would actually be a bluff.